Hello, I am trying to do a little video at the ice rink while I wait for a ride to pick me up. So, I don't know how the audios on this is gonna be. There's like some weird shh or like sudden like slapping sounds. It's gonna be the hockey practice going on out there. But I thought I'd make a video and actually talk about how I got into skating, why skating, what kind of stuff has skating maybe brought out that affected me in a trans sort of way. Um, it just seemed to make sense to get a video like this out there and try to do it sooner than later. So, alright. I guess would be when did I start skating and why did I do it in the first place? Especially because it's such a stereotypically feminine sport. Well, I was about 9, 10 years old, and went to a public rink in a small town I grew up in, and they didn't have a big skating club or anything. It was really rural. There happened to be one girl there from the skating club who was on the public skate session that my family and I were on, and she was doing a scratch spin. And the only time I've seen figure skating was on TV. And it was back in the 90s when there's a lot of really good skating going on, and it used to be televised everywhere. And it wasn't just a sport that people thought of, every 4 years for the Olympics. People thought of it, every winter, all the time. It was popular. And she was the first person I ever saw do skating elements in real life, not on a TV screen. And the first two thoughts that went through my head were, wow, that's amazing. I want to learn how to do that. And then I can totally learn how to do that. And I can do it way better. So I was always a very competitive person. If I didn't get into skating, I probably would have gotten into some kind of combat sport, in all honesty. They sound really polarizing, but it's quite similar, at least my perception. So, we started enrolling in skating lessons at that club pretty early on. We found we learned more about it as you go. When you first start skating, you don't go directly into private lessons usually. You totally can, but the system most people go through is the basic skills program. And basic skills is a series of badges. To get a badge, you have to pass a test of X many required elements on it. And most kids take their badge tests. And I don't remember if it was at their recommendation or how this ended up happening, but we ended up going to a rink in a couple towns over from where we lived, and I did really well. It usually takes people maybe a season or two, a winter season, to get through their first set of badges. And if you do every single badge they have, that's, you're somewhere in the teens, depending on your age. It's quite a few badges to get through. There's like 14 or something. Don't quote me on that. And I ended up getting through all the badges and working on things that weren't on the badges in a matter of months. So, at the recommendation of someone there, I started taking private lessons, and we started traveling to the nearest bigger city from our town to go skating at, because they had the most ice time. So I didn't skate in my hometown anymore. I skated over the winter, the rink over, and then I skated in the nearest city, which was about 50 odd miles away. And that other town was somewheres in between. And we'd make the trek going from back and forth to each rink. a good solid, maybe two times a day. Do a session at one and go to the other. Maybe try to catch another session back at the first one, depending on what the schedules are like. We ended up splitting ice time between a good main 3 rinks, and occasionally it would be 4 or 5 depending on what time of year it was and again what the ice availability was. Now you're probably thinking normal people can't do that. Handful of reasons, but at the very least school. Unrelated to skating, I was homeschooled since 2nd grade. So after 1st grade, I was taken out of the public school system. I didn't get back into a public school system until college. So time in that sense already wasn't an issue because of the homeschooling. So that was one hurdle that was kind of already out of the way. Now, my dad didn't approve of me skating. I'm not exactly sure what his reason was. I know safety was one in the beginning. I don't know if that was really the main reason. It was something that was just never talked about, and it's not something anyone was about to approach him with. But I was allowed to do it. My mom drove. My sister, fortunately, lost a really good chunk of her childhood to being dragged from rink to rink because of my skating and mom not wanting to leave her home alone. So she skated a little bit recreationally, but I was the one that really got into it hardcore. Now, guess why figure skating? I really liked how it felt to glide on something, and I liked that it was already something that you just knew it was going to be super challenging, and you could spend your whole damn life on it. And it's one of those things, like, the more you get into it, the more you realize there's a lot of stuff you didn't know before, and it just keeps getting deeper and deeper, opposed to one of those sports you just jump in and master, and then it's just a matter of maintaining. There's always new stuff to learn in skating, and it's one of those things where if you take any time away, it's not like riding a bike, which I thought was tricky anyways after taking a break from, but it's one of those things. It's very much like ballet. Skating is supposed to be ballet on ice. That's what pair skating and freestyle skating was supposed to be the adaptation of originally. Like, historically, that's what it is. And ice dance is the adaptation of ballroom and Latin dances on ice. That's what that is. And the figures are, the whole reason it's called that is because skaters used to be required, and it's coming back slowly, to demonstrate their edge quality and control and alignment of the body by doing set required elements on figure eights. And it didn't stop at eights. You could have, instead of just 2 circles to make an 8, you could have 3. It got really complex. It's beautiful. And figures was phased out because skaters hated doing them. It wasn't really exciting for an audience. They're kind of slow, and judging them is a time-consuming task. Judges would get out there with the ruler, and the blade is super thin. Like, I'll show you my dance blades. So, very thin. And I don't know if I can line it up on here, but you can't see, but on either end of that blade is really what you're skating on. You're not skating on that whole thing, which is about, say, 1/4 of an inch. You're skating on the blades on either side, the inside and outside edge. And that's like, I'm not even sure if I had to guess how thick that was. It's very, very thin. Like a sliver. Like, you could make a pen stroke, like with a ballpoint pen, and that's probably going to be almost double the thickness of what the blade is. And when you did the figures, judges would get out there with rulers, and you had to copy the same tracing X many times, and you only had like a 1 inch margin of error. And if those tracings were not right on top of each other, or if one deviated like an inch out from the rest, it was considered poorly done. It was very exact and precise. And when you would compete with figures in freestyle skating, the one where you do all the jumps and spins most people are familiar with and think of, they didn't understand why someone would do a great, impressive free skate program and then not place, and it was because the figures were poor. And it just made it confusing. So for the sake of keeping the sport popular with athletes and audience people, and to, I guess, try to make judging a little bit more transparent, they were abolished. And the sport has kind of more or less suffered quality issues since then. But shit, where is it going? Why skating? Sorry, this is a long tangent. But I like that it was a sport that paid that much attention to detail. And when I was learning jumps and spins, I really wanted to like jumps. It never really clicked with me. I guess I wasn't meant to be a free skater. But I love spins. I love how it felt to spin. I was actually I got really good at spins for a while there. I was one of the few skaters that had a true blur spin in an upright position and a back position, and I almost kind of sort of used to be able to do it from sit spin and sit variations, and couldn't do it in camel. It's just not aerodynamic like that. Sit spin's not really either, but I had a really fast camel. I've since lost all my spins. I'm trying to figure out how to get them back and do them on dance blades, which are super different than free skates, which are meant to spin and jump on. So that's a long process. Just know that videos I post with spins in them, it's a work in progress. It's not what they used to look like. Just very far removed. But I liked it. It was challenging. It's a super competitive environment. Figure skating is one of those kind of cutthroat sports. Sometimes it makes me think of like, so my family was in dog rescue, so I'm very familiar with the dog world. And if you're familiar with like dog shows, it's like beauty pageants mixed with dog shows and mixed with ballet, just like all that stuff just on top of each other, cutthroat, competitive. And I like that. I used to be kind of not always the nicest person, but I really liked knowing I was doing something difficult not a lot of people can do. It's an extremely hard sport when you get to the nitty-gritty of it, and I liked beating people doing it. I guess another question would be why ice dance? Because a lot of the skaters, if you meet skaters, chances are they're going to be single skaters. Or there'll be single skaters that might do synchronized skating or maybe want to get into pairs, but there's not a whole lot of ice dancers out there compared to everyone else. And the reason I got into ice dancing was because main coach I was working with at the time brought in a dance instructor from a completely different area, and it was his job to teach us ice dance to make us more well-rounded. Kind of so we'd have those dance tests under our belt. It looks good on paper. Part of it was variety, and part of it was, I don't want to exactly say to replace the figures training, but give us something. And I absolutely loved it. From the instant I did it, I was getting kind of burnt out before. I was really frustrated that I wasn't picking up jumps, and I wanted to be a competitive skater. I wanted a career in the sport. And as far as I knew, you couldn't do that if you didn't have triple jumps. So I got really frustrated, and I started late. When I was on the cusp of 10 years old. A lot of skaters start at like 3, 4, 5 years old. And when I'd compete against skaters who had like a decade or more experience on me. And I mean, I always placed, I always medaled, but I was at a point where I was getting to a level where I didn't have the jumps to remain competitive. And ice dance was fun. It was different. It was something I knew I could get really good at pretty fast if focused on it. And you get lifted. That's fucking awesome. You get to do them in pairs, and pairs lifts are the really cool ones where you are like definitely overhead. And in ice dance, you're not allowed to lift someone above the lifting partner's shoulders. The only exception would be transitioning into a different position, but even that's timed and it's super strict. But now dance lifts, they're super intricate. They're gotten really cool and kind of like contortionist like. It's awesome. And I'm like, I have an opportunity to do that, and I get to skate with somebody. Usually I was just like really competitive, and I didn't want to work with other skaters. I just wanted to be better than all of them. And I was like, now I can skate with someone. We can be equal. We can be other people together, and I get lifted, and we get to do like partner spins, or we're both spinning each other, and like this is a much better deal. I like this, and it had a longer like competitive shelf life to it. At the time, single skaters, women usually started retiring around mid-20s ish, and if it used to be, if you weren't like already titled, or close to being able to get titled by like your late teens, early 20s, I mean, you were very likely going to be completely retired by your mid-20s. And there's a handful of reasons for that. But ice dancers, like men and women, were competing until like their mid-30s even. Some of them even pushing 40 at like world Olympic level. And like, that's unheard of. Pair skaters might skate until like late 20s, early 30s, sometimes mid-30s. But, I still don't even have enough jumps to really be competitive in that. So to find ice dancing, which felt like such a joy and a relief to go to, and I got to do cool things I couldn't do as a solo skater, and I could add over a decade onto my competitive shelf life, that seemed like a awesome deal. So, that's why I got into ice dance. And let me see. I took a bunch of dance tests really quickly, and I ended up going to a different instructor, and that's the one where I really focused everything on. I stopped doing freestyle altogether at that point. I worked on my moves in the field, which is like a required thing that freestyle skaters have to do to compete. You need to take your free skate test, your jump spins test in the program, and you need to take your moves in the field, which are skating elements on patterns. Not strict as figures, nowhere near, but it was their equivalent. And dances have their own patterns and tests for that too. It's set music for everybody, set steps and time and choreography for everyone, and you do it to the book. And when you used to compete in compulsory dances, everyone did the exact same shit, and you just compared them to each other. And I kind of like the regimentedness of that. but I got my first dance boots, dance blades. My boots are actually kind of a hybrid. They weren't truly dance boots. They're a combination of a freestyle boot and a dance boot in case for some reason I really changed my mind and want to go back, I could. But the dance blades are legit, and they're the skates I still have now. If you can see them. Yep. These are my boots and dance blades. Dance blades are really short, and they don't have a big toe pick. This is a freestyle skate. The toe pick would be longer, and the heel of the blade would come out probably a good inch or more. And it's lower cut. This is still high for a dance blade boots, sorry. But they'll usually have 3 notches instead of 4, and this will be lower if it's there at all, and like the whole thing will just be kind of cut. Okay, sorry, you're gonna have to forgive my inability to aim camera angles. Sorry, but just so that's why I got into ice dance. It reminded me of why I started skating again in the first place. And I still got to do spins, and I was really flexible at the time, so I could do a lot more contortionist type spins with the partner than if I tried to do them solo and at an acceptable like free skating speed. Their spins are a lot faster because it's one person and a lot more opportunity to do different stuff. So that's why I did that. And let's see. Didn't get to compete much in dance, unfortunately. I had one competition I got to do. It was a pro-am competition. So professional amateur, meaning skater who has Olympic eligibility status and one who does not. So it's usually a student and a coach. And that's what it was. It was me and my serious dance coach, and it was like one of the worst days I could have possibly skated. I had I had my hip injuries flaring up, and my back was sort of stiff, and I'll go into that whole injury thing in a minute. But I had that going on. I had like 3 broken toes. Don't even remember how that happened, but I did. And I had 105-degree fever. So we competed compulsory dances. I don't remember if we did 2 or 3. They were the silver dances, and all I remember is that I blacked out on one of them. Didn't complete a pattern on another one because I thought the dance had ended. I just got mentally ahead of myself. And had a coughing fit in the middle of a different one. So, needless to say, that couldn't be rewarded very well. So I came in dead last in like my only skating dance competition. But it was cool because it was a big event, and we had to travel to like completely different state to do it. So, it was kind of fun. I wouldn't say it was an accurate representation of how we were training or what we were training for, but oh god, that was a hell of a day. Gosh. Anyways, so that's how I got into it. I did have some issues with the gender rigidness in the sport. As a single skater, I could kind of put it out of my mind. I could tell myself I was anybody on the ice, and I could just, skate however I wanted. I could pick relatively whatever kind of music I want to skate to. I want to skate to, like, a lot of the classical pieces that really usually came from, like, dramatic operas and stuff, so not... It was classical music, but it wasn't, like, fairy, princess, girly type of music. It was dramatic, kind of more morbid, sort of maybe more goth type stuff. It's just because I liked heavy content. It's no other reason really, but that I liked really dramatic and over the top and not exactly delicate but powerful music. Um, so that wasn't too much of an issue. Um, I always had a very balletic way of moving, and I kind of dissociated that from myself. Um, I wanted skating to look pretty, and to me, for it to look pretty, it had to be perfect. And if this was supposed to be derived from ballet, then having a naturally balletic style wasn't a negative thing to me. I just I just try not to focus on myself as a girl doing it, but me as a balletic person trying to do it to the best of my graceful abilities. Um, and knowing there were male ballet dancers out there kind of helped. But I didn't really gender it. I only started really run into problems when I had to perform and compete and wear dresses for it. That was a tough one. Um, with ice dance, I just tried to go into like drag queen mode and told myself I was just doing like a fabulous drag performance. When I was a freestyle skater, I didn't think to do that, so I just got really miserable, um, and had to really dissociate to get through it. Let me see. Um, Let me see. In ice dance, I didn't have a problem with the lead and follow roles. I mean, I wanted to learn how to lead and do the male stuff, and I talked with my instructor about that, but it never really happened. Um, but the way I saw it, the girl got to do the cool shit. She had the harder choreography and foot sequences. She was usually the better skater than a lot of the guys in ice dance, and it just seemed like it was the more demanding and difficult role, and it looked prettier, and I wanted it. And even though I mentally identified as a guy, I I didn't compete with the guy skaters that were around. Really, I didn't see it as a competition between me and them. I saw it as a competition between me and all the girls. So to outgirl them in drag queen mode at the stuff they like pride themselves on. I yes, I was that competitive asshole. um, I'm sure that speaks volumes about me, but that's how I tried to look at it. Ultimately, the gender dysphoria kind of got in the way of a lot of things, and there was a whole lot of stuff happening off the ice that spilled into it and affected things, but it did become a bit much when I had to perform in front of people and I couldn't just wear my skating pants and warm up clothes. So that's kind of what got the better of me, and that's one of the things that kind of got in the way of me being able to enjoy doing ice dance after a few years of it. But all right, it's approaching the fucking half-hour mark. But that's brief kind of intro of why I got into skating, that kind of skating, and how I felt about trans stuff. I might do a part 2 of this if I can think of other things to ramble on about. But yeah, that's the general gist of it. So, alright. I will make another video on something soon. Hope everyone is doing well and hope you enjoyed this. Alright, bye. Come on. Oh.